I'd always seen the big, ornate mirror in my grandmother's attic as just another piece of her collection. You know, a dusty old relic she couldn't bear to part with. It was propped up against a far wall covered in cobwebs, forgotten. I never gave it a second thought until the night I had to stay at her house all by myself. Grandma was visiting a friend, and a storm had knocked out the power in my own apartment building, so her place was my only option. It was late, and the old house creaked and groaned around me, sounds I usually found comforting, but tonight they felt different. I was searching for extra blankets, and the only place I knew to look was the attic. So I pulled down the rickety attic stairs, the chain groaning in protest, and climbed up with my phone's flashlight cutting through the thick darkness. The beam danced across forgotten treasures, old chests, stacks of books, a rocking horse from my childhood. Then the light landed on the mirror. It stood there, tall and imposing, leaning at a strange angle. I pointed the light at myself to see if I had any cobwebs in my hair, and that's when my heart stopped. My reflection, it wasn't moving with me. It was completely still, holding its own flashlight, but its head was turned slightly, staring intently at something over my shoulder into the darkness behind me. I froze, a cold dread washing over me. This had to be a trick of the light, right? A weird shadow. I took a shaky step closer to the glass, slowly raising my free hand and waving. Nothing. My reflection remained motionless, its gaze fixed on that spot in the gloom. I waved again, more frantically this time. Finally, the figure in the mirror turned its head. But the movement was all wrong. It was slow, delayed, like a bad video call lagging horribly. It wasn't a reflection. It was someone, or something, pretending to be me, poorly mimicking my actions. The fear in my chest was so tight I could barely breathe. Then its lips pulled back into a smile. It was a grotesque, wide grin that stretched its face in a way I've never smiled in my life. It was a smile of pure malice, and it didn't reach its eyes. Its eyes were cold, empty voids. I stumbled backward, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a scream. But as I moved away from the mirror, my reflection did the opposite. It started walking forward, pressing closer and closer to the surface of the glass, its hands coming up as if pushing against an invisible barrier from the other side. The air in the attic grew frigid, and my breath plumed in front of me. The single bare bulb hanging from the rafters began to flicker violently, casting the whole scene in a strobe of light and shadow. That's when I heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping sound. Tap, tap. It wasn't coming from the attic walls or the roof. It was coming from inside the mirror. My reflection's finger was tapping against the glass from its side. My blood ran cold. Then a whisper slithered through the air, and it was my own voice, but distorted and hollow. "Let me out," it whispered. "Let me out. I'm the real one." That was it. I didn't wait for another word. I scrambled backward, tripped over a box, and practically fell down the attic stairs. I slammed the door shut and fumbled to lock it, my entire body trembling uncontrollably. I spent the rest of the night huddled on the living room sofa, jumping at every single sound the old house made. When the sun finally rose, I was exhausted but relieved. It must have been a nightmare, a waking dream brought on by stress and the creepy old house. I forced myself to be rational. Gathering my courage, I walked to the bottom of the attic stairs. The door was still locked, just as I'd left it. But when I turned to go to the kitchen, I saw it. Standing in the hallway, right outside my grandmother's bedroom, was the mirror. It was no longer dusty or covered in cobwebs. It was perfectly clean, gleaming in the morning light as if it had been polished all night. And as I stared at my own terrified face in its reflection, I watched, completely helpless, as the eyes of the person staring back at me blinked twice. I hadn't blinked at all. Thanks for listening, and if you have a story like this, I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.